In this epic 707-page Tool of Titans, Tim Ferriss shares the habits and beliefs of 101 people at the top of their game. Major themes of Tool of Titans. You need to focus. Does life feel busy to you? It doesn't have to be. If you feel like you're spinning your wheels and moving really fast, but not making any progress in life, you probably have to focus your goals. Being busy is a form of laziness, lazy thinking and indiscriminate action. Being busy is most often used as a guise for avoiding the few critically important but uncomfortable actions. Being busy is an existential reassurance, a hedge against emptiness. Obviously, your life cannot possibly be silly or trivial or meaningless if you are so busy, completely booked, in demand every hour of the day. In reality, in the grandest of schemes, what we do doesn't matter. It's worth spending a lot of time defining these goals. You spend 5 minutes figuring out where you want to eat for dinner. If you spend that 5% of time on your career, this would be a 2 full working years just spent on figuring out how to live your life. Very useful visual metaphor. Imagine you have a glass jar and next to it big rocks, pebbles and sand. If you put the sand and pebbles in first, they take up the space and you can't fit the big rocks in. But if you add the big rocks, then the pebbles, then the sand, everything fits. Derek Sivers advises not to be a donkey, citing Buridan's ass, a fable where a donkey that is both hungry and thirsty is placed midway between hay and water. Unable to make a choice, the donkey dies. Sieber advises being patient and methodical. Don't pursue all the directions at once and making progress on the none. Have patience. With focus, you'll be able to do everything big you want in life. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no. Derek Sivers uses this benchmark to assess these opportunities. Reid Hoffman has a similar idea. There needs to be one decisive reason for an expensive action like traveling to an industry conference. If it's a blended reason, full of multiple unsatisfying reasons, most likely it'll be a waste of time. Chris Sacca moved near Tahoe instead of living in San Francisco to go back on offense. If you surveyed things you have to do, which of those did you assign yourself and which of those are you doing to please someone else? Your inbox is a to-do list to which anyone in the world can add an action item. Beware of moderation arguments. You'll just do a little startup investing or 5 hours a week isn't that bad. If this is an area where you go all or nothing, then you need to cut it off completely. Accepting the requests you receive is at the expense of the quality of the very work, the reason for those requests in the first place, and that's what you always have to protect. Maria Popova. Desire is a contract you make with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want. Naval Ravikant is therefore careful to choose his desires carefully, to avoid hanging more than one big desire at any time. Focus helps you avoid anxiety and desire from dozens of unfulfilled wants. Visualize your goals. Why are you pedaling so hard if you don't know where you are going? Many Titans visualize their long-term goals, so it becomes easier to know what they're fighting for and what to say not to. I am a big believer that if you have a very clear vision of where you want to go, then the rest of it is much easier because you always know why you are training 5 hours a day. You always know why you are pushing and going through the pain barrier. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Tony Robbins spends the last part of his morning meditation imagining the 3 things he'll make happen. See it as though it's already been done. Feel the emotions. Pick a goal and write it down 15 times a day, every day. It will seem as if the universe just starts speeding up opportunities. Scott Adams believes this helps your brain filter in the opportunities that fit your goal, much like you can hear your name in a room full of noise. Be courageous. Be brazen. Do you have a big goal you would love to tackle, but you don't feel ready? You likely have put artificial constraints on yourself. Many Titans spoke about pushing past artificial boundaries placed on us by society or by ourselves. Realize that every Titan you admire started out where you are today. The difference is they had the courage to push past this obstacle. Here's a Tool of Titans summary of the top courage quotes. Everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you, and you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. Steve Jobs. Don't be afraid to do something you're not qualified to do. Dan Carlin. If it had always done what I was qualified to do, I'd be pushing a broom somewhere. Naval Ravikant, a high agency person. When you're told that something is impossible, is that the end of the conversation? Or does that start a second dialogue in your mind? How to get around whoever it is that's just told you that you can't do something? Eric Weinstein. Don't be afraid to start because you feel you need the perfect starting kit of connection, funding, ideas. These are excuses, and you can likely make use of the assets you do have. To make a difference in your short life, do the type of research that other people would think of as risky or even foolhardy. Have no fear. You've got one chance here to do amazing things, and being afraid of being wrong or making a mistake is just not how you do something of impact. Aiden Gazelle. Tim Ferriss Fear Exercise. Write down the 20% of activities and people that are causing 80% of negative emotions. You need to escape these. If left at the status quo, what does life look like in 6 months? 3 years? What is the worst that could happen if you made the change you're afraid of? How could you undo the damage from the worst case? What is the permanent damage? You will likely find there is little permanent damage. And if you fail, you'll be able to resume your old life just fine. What is the best case scenario if I made a change? Have less intelligent people done this before and pulled it off? After this exercise, you usually realize that the worst case in what could happen is nowhere near crippling, and you don't have great reasons not to do it other than fear. Don't be afraid to punch above your weight class. Go to all the meetings you can, even if you are not invited to them, and figure out how to be helpful. Ryan Holiday suggests the canvas strategy. Early on, your role is to pave the way for other people, to let them do their best work, to find canvases for them to paint on. Don't worry about being taken advantage of. Find the groundwork nobody wants to do and constantly strive to be helpful to people. Give your ideas away. The person who clears the path controls the direction. If your ego gets in the way because you think you're high and mighty, then realize that this lower position is simply a temporary situation and you should get the most out of it. Bill Belichick mastered the art of analyzing film, a grand job, and he started as a volunteer. Adam Robinson suggests approaching each interaction as a challenge to delight the other person, including investment meetings or job interviews. This puts the focus off of yourself. 10% challenge. Go to the counter and ask for 10% of your coffee. You have to learn to ask for things and put yourself out there. From Noah Kagan. When I had the opportunity, did I choose courage over comfort? Brent Brown. Jamie Foxx, born Eric Bishop, started his career at an improved venue. They'd have 100 guys and 5 girls in the line to perform, and they'd always pick the girls to get variety. Jamie made a unisex names to get picked. Action, not information. Are you obsessed with learning new tactics, but have a problem following through? Realize that success doesn't come from knowledge, it comes from action, especially when reading non-fiction books like this Tool of Titans summary. Don't just absorb the platitudes, think hard about what actionables you want to apply to your life. If information was the answer, then we'd all be billionaires with perfect abs. Derek Sivers. Mastery doesn't come from an infographic. What you know doesn't mean shit. What do you do consistently? Tony Robbins. Don't feel you need to have that perfect unicorn idea before you start acting. Most likely you're holding yourself back. Inspiration is for amateurs. The rest of us just show up and get to work. Things will grow out of the activity itself, and that you will, through work, bump into other possibilities and kick open other doors that you would never have dreamt of if you were just sitting around looking for a great art idea. Chuck Close. You'll never be the best looking, smartest, most educated person in the room, but you can always compete on. The true egalitarian aspect to success is hard work. Casey Neistat. Free education is abundant all over the internet. It's the desire to learn that's scarce. Naval Ravikant. In college, Rob Rodriguez created a comic strip. He tried to develop an idea fully formed by staring at the ceiling before he started drawing. He realized that he was much better at simply drawing, finding something cool, then keep iterating to create something. You have to act first before inspiration will hit. You don't wait for inspiration and then act, because you're never going to act. BJ Novak suggests first-time comics book their first week of shows in advance, so they can't back out after a bad performance. Commit of future actions in a high energy state, so you don't back out. Everyone starts somewhere. If you need a dose of courage, look at the earliest blogs of Tim Ferriss or Ramit Sethi. Watch the pilot of South Park. The big presences you see today started out no better than the rough drafts you see, and you don't have to do any better. Generate a lot of bad ideas to get good ideas. Do you feel held back because you struggle to find the perfect idea? Your bar is set too high. Spend your energy coming up with lots of ideas, even if they're silly. There are bound to be some good ideas in there. If you can't come up with 10 ideas, come up with 20 ideas. James Altucher suggests you might feel bottlenecked by the need to come up with good. Instead, just come up with ideas, period. There are bound to be some good ideas in there. What matters isn't your hit rate, but the quality of your best ideas. Suggestion for idea brainstorming lists: 10 ways I can save time, 10 ridiculous things I would invent, 10 old ideas I can make new. Similar idea. IBM got better sales by setting sales quotas low, so that salespeople wouldn't feel as timid in picking up the phone. After getting their first sales, they'd find momentum. Malcolm Gladwell comes up with as many ideas as possible, scrutinizes them, and kills them off. The unkillable ideas are worth going forward with. Many writers don't believe that writer's block exists. If I don't feel inspired, I need to move forward. I need to have discipline, I say. You, book, are fighting with me. Okay, I'm going to sit here and I'm not going to leave you alone until I find my way out. Paulo Coelho.